We can also take a look at our velocity product, which is the wind speed and the direction at cloud level. So we're going to use this coming out of New Orleans, and we're going to try to analyze this here to see if we can see anything that pops out. And not seeing anything that's really clear. I'm going to take a look at a different product here, and maybe a little bit something right in there. You can kind of see the winds vary just a little bit right there, just to the east of that highway, which is coming out of Liberty. That's where we think the rotation is. If it is moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour, well, we're going to track it across Interstate 55 and into the Macomb and the Magnolia area, and it could be in these communities at these estimated times of arrival. We're looking at McElveen at about 7:54. The current time is 7:42, so that gives you about, let's say, 10, 12 minutes lead time before the storm is approaching your area. That's the reason we're on the air, is to give you as much lead time as possible. If a tornado is being put down, we want you to have enough time to get to your safe spot and stay there until the storm is past your area or it diminishes. Now, you got a little bit more time if you live in Irene, which is it should be there at right about the top of the hour, and then approaching Macomb a few minutes later at about 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. So let's put the radar back on. We're going to analyze this coming out of New Orleans. I'm going to put on the lightning strikes here. Not seeing a whole bunch of lightning with this storm. Let's take a look at the rotation from Jackson's radar to see if we can see anything better there. And we're kind of in the range folding mode of Jackson's radar. So it's pretty far away from the radar site. It's a little bit tougher to see when it's farther away from the radar site. But again, right there in northeastern mid-county, moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the radar once again. And I think it's going to be near the community of Thompson right now, moving eastward. And as we zoom in, we're going to track a couple of these highways here that the storm could be affecting over the next several minutes as it continues to progress eastward at about 30 miles per hour across the county line from Emmett to Pike County, and ultimately should be crossing Interstate 55 and Highway 51 near Macomb, Summit, and around Fernwood. Those are populated areas, so if you live in those areas, obviously the storm is to the west of you now, but it is quickly approaching. So what we need you to do is to get to your hopefully predetermined safe spot and stay there until the storm is done. A safe spot, of course, is going to be underground if you have that option, in a storm shelter or a basement. If you don't have that option, your next best option is a sturdy structure, a small interior room on the lowest floor, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and of course staying away from windows. So we think the rotation is going to be right in here, just in about this area, let's say south of Hustler, approaching the Thompson area, north of East Fork and McElveen, moving east at about 30 miles per hour. So if this is where the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is, it should be crossing the county line into Pike County in 15 minutes or less. It's going to cover about 8 miles and take, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes to cross from Emmett back over to Pike County. Once it gets into Pike County, it's not going to take too much longer to cross Interstate 55 and potentially be in the Summit and Macomb area. From right now, it's going to be there in about 20 minutes, maybe less. Remember, what you're seeing on the radar here is delayed just a little bit. We have to wait for these scans to come in. So even though it says 23 minutes, you want to shave a couple minutes off that, and we don't know if the storm is actually going to speed up. What we have seen with this entire severe line is that it is moving very quickly. Most of the severe thunderstorm warnings we have here have the storms moving to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So even though this part of the line may be a little bit slower, it could certainly speed up, which would make the storm get to places like Macomb and Summit a little bit sooner than the estimated arrival time than we've been showing you. So again, keep that in mind. You don't want to dally. You want to get to your safe spot while you have some time to get there before the storm actually reaches you. So let's go ahead and take a look at our velocity out of Jackson. Again, it's a little bit too far away. We got the range folding issue there. So I'm going to switch over to our New Orleans radar, which is actually closer to the Hammond area. And again, I'm not seeing anything that really pops out at me on the velocity. So we'll take a look once again at the radar. And if there's rotation there, I do think it's going to be east of Highway 570, or excuse me, 569, moving toward the East Fork, Thompson area, and eventually getting closer to Macomb and that Pike County line. Now, we do have team coverage of what's happening tonight, the severe weather threat. I have in studio with me meteorologist Roberto Samora. Roberto, tell me what you're seeing with the storm.
Yeah, taking a look, I was also looking at our Louisiana radar closer to Hammond as well, and I'm starting to get a little bit good of a signature when it comes to our velocity. A little bit earlier, this is a scan prior to around 7:47. So this is the reason why they gave this warning. These green winds right here, that's inbound towards the radar. This red is going away. We saw that little bit of rotation, and that's what gave them, hey, there's an indication that maybe something's starting to tighten up and possibly produce a tornado. And regardless if a tornado is on the ground or not, these winds that are coming through are very, very strong. So taking a look right now, we'll pull it farther back out and take a look. So it's already moved its way over Thompson, like Ken said. It's pushing its way to the east in the eastern portion of Emmett County right now and getting closer into Pike County. As it's moving its way to the east, it's around 30 miles per hour. So this is a fairly quick moving storm and a quick moving line in general. Taking a look a little bit farther up to our north, you could see farther up, let's say into Lincoln County, Lawrence as well. They have that strong line that's headed away. A lot of lightning strikes with this, heavy downpours, and we are even seeing wind gusts that are getting up to around 60 miles per hour. You heard that right, 60 miles per hour. That's going to easily knock down trees with those straight line winds, and our ground is a little bit more saturated because we had some rain that affected us earlier this week and this past weekend as well. So that's something you're going to have to keep in mind. So taking a look, of course, we have this tornado warning that's ongoing in Emmett County into Pike right now, pushing its way to the east around 30 miles per hour. A little bit of notch right here. So these are probably some winds that are trying to push its way in while the storm is pushing its way farther out to the east, giving us that concern for the possible rotation and possibly a tornado pushing its way onto the ground as well. There's been a few other tornado warnings, but luckily these have been a little bit farther down to our southwest and parts of Louisiana. And of course, that's not our concern as of right now. So taking a look back, we're going to keep on tracking this. We are still getting not the greatest when it comes to our velocity signature here, but you could tell prior to that scan is the reason why is because we had a little bit of winds that came in as the system was pushing its way to the east and just gave us that concern with maybe a possible notch starting to circulate and drop something on the ground. And then we get the new scan and it's really just not looking as good. And I just believe that's because of how fast this system is currently moving. Now take a look. We'll look at, of course, other products as well because our correlation coefficient, our debris tracker gives us an indication that maybe something's getting lifted up into the atmosphere. And as of right now with this, we're not seeing that, which is always a good sign because if we did have a debris ball, that would give us the confirmation of a tornado. So we don't have that right now. So this is a system and saying, hey, this tornado warning, it could drop at any moment in time. Now is the time to be getting into a safer area. So let's take a look. The system's moving its way fairly fast. It's already starting to move its way into Pike County. So if you're in Macomb, going down to Fernwood, Magnolia as well, you need to be in your safe space. This system is moving its way fast, around 30 miles per hour. So it's going to be on you fairly quickly. So making sure you're getting into your safer area. Now this warning falling on, we're gonna have to track it and keep seeing if they decide, hey, we're gonna move this farther downstream and farther out to the east. And of course, if that happens, that'd be moving its way into the eastern portion of Pike and Walthall County as well. But as of right now, we're just gonna have to keep an eye on this as we keep moving its way farther downstream. We already had that severe thunderstorm warning before the tornado warning. And with that severe thunderstorm warning, we were seeing wind gusts up to around 60 miles per hour. Along with that, we were seeing some quarter-of-an-inch hail. So there's a possibility of both of those as this system moves its way out to the east. It's a strong line of storms. Our concerns were going to be those winds when it comes to this evening. And we're going to keep tracking this right now, taking a look. Haven't gotten any updates as of yet from, because this actually comes in from the New Orleans NWS station, not the Jackson one when it comes to Pike and, let's say, Mid-County as well. So we've just been checking with them. No updates as of yet. They're going to keep tracking this system just because they had that quick little velocity signature pop up that gave us an indication that, hey, maybe these winds are trying to go against each other and cause some rotation to start to occur. So we'll keep tracking this out. Strong line of storms, heavy downpours associated with it. It's moving its way right along the 55 corridor as of right now. So Macomb, Fernwood, Magnolia, if you're in these areas or in between, make sure you're getting into your safer spot. It does look like if there's any rotation, possibly it'll be moving its way along, let's say, Highway 24 corridor, moving its way closer to 55 and transitioning closer to 51, of course, and 98 as well. So fast-moving storm. Of course, we have team coverage still going on with this system. And just taking another look a little bit farther up the line as well, don't forget we do have severe thunderstorm warnings that are going to be in effect also for the southern portion of Copiah County, southwestern Simpson, Lincoln, and Lawrence, as well as these wind gusts have been getting up to around 60 miles per hour. We've also gotten multiple indications of some storm damage earlier this afternoon because of the strong line of winds. We heard some reports coming in from Rankin County even earlier today. It does look like we did get an update on this polygon, so let's take it back out. Moving its way to the east at now around 35 miles per hour, so even picking up some faster speed, pushing its way out to the east. Still radar indicated rotation as of now, so no confirmation on this being on the ground. It's just giving you the idea, hey, this could drop down at any moment or point. So like I said, just make sure you're into your safer area. If you are in that eastern portion of Emmet County, going into that western portion of Pike County, Macomb, Magnolia, you're going to have to make sure you're in your safe space. If you're between these areas as well, along that 55 corridor, Highway 51, you need to be making sure you're paying attention, getting into a safer area as of right now. So, of course, we got team coverage going on when it comes to this evening. I'm going to send this back over to Chief Meteorologist Ken South just so he can have another look at this system.
All right, thanks, Roberto, for that analysis. Here's a wide look at what's happening here, at least over South Mississippi. I don't think we're going to see much of a severe weather threat here in the metro. For us, it's mostly just going to be rain and a little bit of wind. The severe risk is where the squall line is a little bit more intense, crossing Interstate 55, and then it will be moving through the Pine Belt for the rest of this evening and getting into the overnight hours. So I think shortly after midnight, this should be done. But one point that we need to make is, you notice the purple shaded area here, mostly in the Pine Belt, is under a tornado watch until 2 a.m., which means that conditions are favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms that can produce tornadoes in and close to the watch area. Speaking of which, looks like another tornado warning has just been issued. Now, this one has been issued from the National Weather Service out of Jackson. So a portion of the line is rotating here, and this one is a little bit farther to the north. The reason we originally came on air is because of that warning moving from Emmet into Pike County. We're going to continue to watch that one, but I want to show you this new warning here. Let's clean up the radar just a little bit. I'm going to take off the watch here so we can just look at the warnings. Now, of course, the yellow polygons, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. And notice the tornado warning is smaller. A portion of that line, of that severe line, starting to rotate now. So this is where the warning is. Let's go ahead and query it so you can see how long the warning is going to be in effect. And it looks like it's going to be in effect for southeastern Lincoln County and southern Lawrence County until 9 p.m. That's about an hour and 5 minutes from right now. So here is the warning issued by the National Weather Service in Jackson. I'm going to read it to you at 7:53, which is 1 minute ago. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Summit or Macomb, moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. It is a radar indicated rotation, and they say that this is going to be in the vicinity of JS and Ruth at about 8 p.m. Topeka at 8:05, Tilton at 8:15, and Oakville at around 8:25. So radar indicated rotation means that we've got rotation indicated by radar, but we do not have this spotted by a storm spotter on the ground, and we don't have a debris signature. If we did, it would be a radar confirmed rotation, but that's not the case, at least not yet. Right now, radar indicated rotation, which means we need to analyze this with our velocity product here, and as we do, again, it's messy, but we are seeing the reds and the greens close to one another here, and what this is indicating, the green shaded pixels are winds moving toward the radar site. Now, of course, in this case, we're analyzing this from the radar site now in the Jackson area, right around Brandon and Rankin County. The red indicates winds moving away from the radar site. What we would like to see is a tight couplet to give us a very good indication of where the rotating part of the line is, where the embedded rotation in the line is. I don't see anything that is a clear couplet here, but I do want to query some of these wind speeds because pretty impressive there. We've got very strong winds at about, let's say, 70 miles per hour here and a negative 42 here. The negative 42 means that those are inbound winds toward the radar site. The positive 69, those are outbound winds away from the radar site. Now, it looks like they're just lined up right next to one another, and they're not really turning in on one another, but these winds are extremely strong. And if they do start to turn in on each other, you can see that this would be the potential risk for a tornado being put down here in either northern Pike County or southern Lincoln County, moving to the east now at about 45 miles per hour. So that's a little bit faster speed than we had with the one a little bit farther to the south. So I'm going to change that in Live IMAX 12. And we're going to track this out directly to the east. If the rotation right now is around, let's say, Wilkinson and near the Ruth area, in southeastern Lincoln County along Highway 583. If it's moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour, we're going to track it to the edge right there of Lawrence County. So this would be the edge of Lawrence and Jefferson Davis counties. And in this cone, these are the towns that are popping up in the cone. Not necessarily in the warned area, but in the cone that I just drew. We've got, of course, the community of Ruth. It's going to get there first. Just a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Right now it is approaching 8 p.m., so literally just a few minutes to get to where you need to be if you live in the Ruth area. Now, you got a little bit more lead time if you live around Bristol Store. Should be there at about 8:11. Topeka, 8:15. Sartonville, 8:21. Tilton, 8:28. And White Bluff at about 8:32. If I've mentioned any community that you are nearby, you are under the threat of, at a minimum, seeing severe weather with gusty, potentially damaging winds. And worst case scenario, this could be putting down a tornado, which could cause significant damage. We're looking at the potential for EF0, EF1 tornadoes, maybe a little bit stronger. We're obviously going to hope that's not going to happen, but the potential is there for those type of storms tonight as this squall line continues to progress very quickly to the east across South Mississippi and the Pine Belt. All right, let's go ahead and take a closer look in. I'm going to just take a look at Jackson's radar now. And again, it's just by looking at this, you can't really tell where the rotation would be. This is basically just a squall line of severe weather producing heavy rain, and by the way, it should also be producing penny-sized hail. I'm going to turn on our hail tracker just to see if anything pops up here, and it's not, but there is a potential there for at least 3/4 inch in diameter hail. That would be about penny-sized hail coming from this line of storms. Obviously, heavy rain. I'm not seeing a bunch of lightning strikes with this, but with storms like this, lightning usually accompanies these storms. All of these are dangerous aspects to the squall line, in addition to the potential for it to ramp up and produce a tornado. We are seeing these little notches along the line right there, and what that is telling us is that right in this area, we're seeing it jut out like that. That is an indication that we've got something happening right here, that winds are being drawn into the storm and then pushed out on the back side of the storm right there. So I think if there's a rotation, it's likely, if it's in Lincoln County, it's going to be right here, and that would be crossing the community of Ruth right now on Highway 583, and very soon should be moving eastward into Lawrence County. It's moving, remember, at about 45 miles per hour. So the leading edge of this line is here right around Ruth. Well, it's going to get to Bristol Store and the Lawrence County line in 5 minutes or less. Does not give you a lot of time. If you live in Bristol Store, Topeka and JS, you've got, let's say, 7, 8 minutes maybe before the leading edge of this line gets to you, and the potential for not only damaging winds, but a tornado in this area. Now let's take a look at the warnings. And there are more of them. All right, so obviously what has happened here is the National Weather Service out of New Orleans and Jackson, they've coordinated with each other. And this, I know technically there are 2 polygons here, but this really is just one warning. It's just because New Orleans is responsible for Pike and Walthall counties, and Jackson responsible for Lincoln and Lawrence counties. So they've gotten together to say, okay, this entire line right here has got rotation in it as it moves to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So they're basically warning for this line from Macomb back over to Bogachita, and then points east to include northern Walthall County and southern Lawrence County. So knowing that, I'm going to switch up a little bit here, and we're going to track this entire line. So here's the leading edge of the line that is severe, moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. It's going to take it about 30 minutes to get to the edge of this polygon here, and these are the communities in the path of the storm. These are the estimated times of arrival. Ruth at 2 minutes after 8, which is the current time, so it's there now. Holmesville at about 5 minutes after 8, Bristol Store at 9 minutes after 8, Dinan 8:14, Hope School at 8:16, Salem at 8:19, and Tilton at about 8:25. Let's check out velocity. Once again, this is New Orleans velocity, and this is Jackson velocity. And Roberto, tell me what you think here. I'm thinking that probably the most prominent rotation is probably going to be right there, extreme northern Pike County. But tell me what you think about where the rotation might be within that line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with this system, the problem is we're seeing maybe multiple notches that are starting to form at the same time. I was checking with the New Orleans NWS, and they were worried about this notch that also just went over Macomb. It looked like it was trying to start to tighten up a little bit as well. And this just now is past, pushing its way out to the east of Macomb, and it's going to keep on pushing its way to the east around 40 miles per hour. Looks like we have the possibility of that other notch that Ken was just pointing out here. We have these winds that they're a little bit more on the blue side, the light blue, and that's coming inbound towards that radar. It's a little bit of clutter going on, and if we have these winds that are pushing against this system, it's giving a little bit of the notch. But we're seeing that with this entire line right now. This line of storms is moving its way fairly quick. So if there's any notch indication over the community of Ruth, I believe farther down into that northern end of Pike County as well, and even closer down into Macomb as well, that already passed its way over Macomb, pushing its way out to the east. So this is a strong line of storms. I'm happy that the NWS in New Orleans and Jackson lined up just to give this a better looking polygon when it came to this system. And we'll see what they decide to do with this initial tornado warning that first got us on air here. It looks like most likely, if I were to assume, they're going to just stick with this bigger tornado warning polygon as it keeps on pushing its way to the east at 40 miles per hour. So just take a look at a few areas. I believe if we're going to have to take a look at this, it's going to be the northern area of Pike County. We're going to have to watch out for maybe also that southern portion of Lincoln County going into Lawrence as well. We could see another notch starting to tighten up here. This is just a fast line of moving storms pushing its way to the east, and with this tornado warning, it's moving its way around 40 miles per hour. So as it quickly moves its way across, we could get some of those winds that push against it, try to get that rotation started, and possibly drop a tornado as well. And even if a tornado isn't on the ground, with wind gusts coming into around 60 miles per hour, that could do just the same amount of damage when it comes to your homes, especially when it comes to, let's say, uprooting trees, knocking down power lines as well. So most likely there's going to be a few people in South Mississippi that are going to be without power when it comes to this evening and the overnight hours, just because of these strong line of storms. So we'll keep on taking a look at our velocity signatures. It's our best indication of where the possibility of these notches could be. Northern Pike County, right along that 570 corridor. Possible notch that moved its way over the Macomb area, and then pushing its way, let's say, right along 44, maybe a tad bit south in between 98 and 44 as well. So these are the two areas I really want to watch out for as the system keeps on pushing its way out. So take a look farther up into the line as well. We still have this notch that could be possibly going on that moved its way along Ruth as well. I do want to point that out because these winds, like I said, they're just pushing its way out to the east so quickly that any sort of other wind that's contrary to it, pushing its way against it, could start to have that rotation begin to tighten up. We talk about our debris signature. We always like to check it here and there to make sure, hey, we don't have a TDS on the ground. What I mean by TDS is a tornado debris signature. And as of right now, we're not seeing a defined debris ball anywhere. That's a good indication, because if we did see a debris ball, that means there's a tornado on the ground and we would get bumped up to a confirmed tornado. So we don't have that as of right now. We just have to act like, hey, this system could possibly drop one at any time. Everybody needs to be getting into their safe space. We always talk about it, of course, the southern portion of underneath going into a basement would be the best opportunity for you to be in a safer area. Not all of us have that, and a lot of us don't. The interior of your household, away from those windows. We always talk about it just because if there is any debris that's getting pushed by, hey, the straight line winds or a tornado on the ground, that could shatter that glass. And of course, if you're near the window, that could cause a lot of damage to you. So it's always better to be into an interior room away from those windows. So we'll track it out here and take a look. A little bit of a look right now. So this notch that's farther down into the, let's say, going into Pike County. Let's take actually a deeper dive into here so we can see a little bit of these roads that are popping up and give you a better idea. So if there was a notch moving its way across, it's already moved its way out to the east area of Macomb. It's going to be moving its way, let's say, north of Beckett's or right north of that 98 corridor. It's going to be near Macomb-Haville Road, River Road south as well. It'll keep pushing its way out to the east and getting closer to that 583 corridor farther down into Walthall County. Another notch we have to watch out for is a little bit farther up to our north as well. It's moved its way across Ruth, going north of that 583 area or possibly right along it, getting closer to Brister's store. Topeka as well, you're in that warning, making sure you're in your safer area. And if you're farther out to the east of there, don't forget you're in the warning as well. This is a pretty long one, and the reason why it's so big and farther out to the east is just because of how fast these storms are moving. Now, of course, we do have storm team coverage going on with this system. I'm going to send this back over to Chief Meteorologist Ken South just so he can have another look at this system.
All right, thanks, Roberto. Just want to point out that, again, we've got technically two polygons here. Jackson is updating the northern portion of this, and New Orleans, the southern portion. And we did get an update from Jackson. Notice the polygon has changed a little bit here. They're shifting it a little bit farther to the east. And so we do have some new information, at least on the northern end of this line, which could be producing a tornado, the part that's in Lincoln moving towards Lawrence County. So let's go ahead and take a look at this full screen, and I'm just going to query this, and I'm going to read off the latest from the National Weather Service out of Jackson. They issued this update about 5 minutes ago at 8:03. They were saying a radar indicated rotation over the community of Ruth, which is right down there. We've mentioned that community a couple of times here over the past several minutes as the line was approaching Ruth. Well, as of 5 minutes ago, the National Weather Service out of Jackson saying that the rotation was directly over that community and now moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. So this is what we were talking about before when the initial warning came out and the forward motion was only about 30 miles per hour, but we know that the line is moving even more quickly. Now they have updated this tornado warning to a forward motion of 55 miles per hour. So it's moving more quickly, which means it's going to be moving through these areas faster, and it's going to be getting to these communities even sooner than we previously thought. So moving at about 55 miles per hour. Right now, I'm thinking the rotation right there is east of Ruth, approaching Brister's store. We are going to zoom in even more. You see the roads popping in here. It is right there on the county line, just about a mile or a minute away. Remember, it's moving at about a mile a minute now. So it's going to be near Topeka or possibly south of there, but really it's the entire line is going to catch southern Lawrence County. But that line's going to be there in 5 minutes or less. So Topeka and JS, you've got less than 5 minutes to get to your safe spot. Hopefully you know where that is, or you're already in your safe spot right now. You can watch our continuous streaming weather coverage on our WJTV News app. So hopefully you can take us with you If not, turn up the TV really loud, get to your safe spot, and just listen to where the storm is. Right now, it is approaching the county line of Lincoln, moving into Lawrence County, and is going to be near the communities of JS and Topeka in less than 5 minutes. After that, as it progresses eastward at 55 miles per hour, it's going to be crossing Highway 27 in southern Lawrence County in 7 minutes or less. All right, we're going to zoom out just a little bit here, and I'm going to take this all the way to the edge of the polygon. I'm going to make sure that I've got 55 miles per hour in here, and I do. The rotation right there, at least on the northern end of this line. We're going to take this out to Highway 27. It's going to take it about 8 minutes to get there, and to the edge of the polygon, just about 20 minutes. Now, remember, the warning, I believe, goes until 9 p.m., but it's not going to be it's not going to take until 9 p.m. to get to the end or the eastern edge of this polygon. I think it's going to make it all the way over towards Jefferson Davis County within 20 minutes or so, 20 to 30 minutes at best. So here are the places that pop up in this cone, and we're looking at Bristol Store right now, Topeka. We've been mentioning that, Tilton at 8:26 and White Bluff at about 8:30. If you're in these areas, if you're close to these areas, if you're in southern Lawrence County, if you live along Highway 587 or Highway 27, you need to be in your safe spot right now until we tell you that the storm is past you. So let's zoom out. I want to clear out a couple of areas because, again, there's still technically a tornado warning for Macomb, but I really think the leading edge of this line is where we have the worst weather. And I'm going to turn on the reflectivity from New Orleans, and I'm going to show you that it's still raining in Macomb, but I believe the most dangerous part of this line is going to be on the leading edge here, where we see the radar jutting out in some places, and then you see these notches here. That's where we would have the strongest winds and the potential for rotation. So Macomb, even though you're in a tornado warning, I do believe that the threat is quickly diminishing for you, and especially if you live to the west of I-55. If you've been in your safe spot, you can get out now. I think everything is all clear for you if you live, let's say, on the west side of Macomb or along and west of I-55. I want to turn on the warnings to show you where we have the warnings right now, and we do have another update from the National Weather Service out of New Orleans because that polygon has changed. So I'm going to send it back over to Roberto, and we'll have him take care of the southern end of this, and when he comes back to me, I'll take care of the northern end.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Yeah, just taking a look at both these warnings, they're kind of contradicting themselves a little bit because for our southern portion here, they're saying it's moving its way to the east at 40 miles per hour, while, of course, Jackson, NWS, said around 55 miles per hour. So regardless, I want you to just keep in mind this is a fast-moving storm. It's pushing its way to the east at, let's say, closer to 50 miles per hour. We'll meet right in the middle. Now, we're going to track this out. I'm going to take a look at this whole entire line because I'm concerned with the whole entire aspect of it. We got the possibility of notches here, the possibility of notches going in this way as it moved its way over Macomb as well, pushing its way into the eastern portion of Pike County, going to transition going into the northern end of Walthall County as well. Now, farther up to our north, of course, we had, let's say, Lincoln County, going into Lawrence County. I believe Lincoln County is now going to be in the clear because this main line is now transitioning into that southern portion of Lawrence County. So let's track out this whole entire line just to give you a list of names that you can see and understand when this is going to get to you. So taking a look, let me move this so everybody can see this. 8:14 p.m. This Holmesville, it's right upon you right now. If you're in Hope School, 8:19 p.m. Sartonville, 8:20. Salem Attendance Center, about, let's say, just Salem in general, 8:24 p.m. Then if you're going to Carmage and then White Bluff, you got about until, let's say, 8:28 to around 8:30. So you have a little bit more time right here. But if you're in Hope School, you need to be in your safe area right now. And especially for Sartonville as well. Salem, you have a little bit of time, but now is the time to be acting, getting into your safer area. We talked about it earlier. Going into a basement is, of course, most ideal. Not all of us have that. So just get into an interior room away from the windows. Don't try to see this system. You're not going to be able to. Of course, it's already dark outside. And along with that, this is a very fast-moving system, and there's lots of trees around as well. And that's going to be a main concern is these trees getting knocked down. So like I said earlier, here's a list of these areas. Make sure you're getting into your safe space right now. So let's take another closer look and deep dive into where we're seeing all of these notches pop up. So with this system, like we talked about earlier, it's moving its way east so fast that any sort of winds that try to go against it, starts to have that little quick notch. It gives us a possibility of maybe some rotation starting to happen and maybe a tornado possibly being put onto the ground as well. So going into the Lawrence County, especially that southwestern portion near Brister Store, Jayus, you need to be in a safe area. If you're a little bit farther out to the east, like Topeka, along, let's say, Highway 27, get into your safe space. This is a fast-moving system, so it's already imminent and probably upon you. And if you're farther out to the east, let's say closer to 587 in Tilton, Oakville, you need to be making sure you're paying attention. You are going to be within this tornado warning, and it's headed your way pretty quick. Now, let's take a little bit farther down the line. Topasaw, Enon, these are going to be upon you along that 583 corridor. It's going to keep on pushing its way out to the east, getting closer to Sartonville, and be there in just a few minutes with how fast the system's moving. That's right along Highway 27 corridor. Looking a little bit farther down, Salem, Dinan, you need to be into your safer area as well. And taking a look, there's that 583 corridor, and of course the Highway 27 as well. So make sure you're getting into your safer area. It's a very fast-moving storm. I know with this polygon, it's staying around 40 miles per hour, and this one's 55. Regardless, you're just going to make sure that you understand that this is moving its way quick out to the east. It'll be upon you in just a few minutes, and you need to be making sure you're getting into a safer area away from those windows. So taking a look, it does look like they decided to do another big polygon, a severe thunderstorm warning one, and we're going to take a look at this. Most likely, yep, it's pushing its way with wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour, so they upped that criteria a little bit. Keep that in mind. Very strong wind gusts are headed your way up to around 70 miles per hour. This can, of course, do any tree damage, power lines as well. There's going to be a lot of us that are without power when it comes to southern portion of the Magnolia State for this evening. Now, taking a look. Taking a look right now, yep, issued around 8:13. So that one's newer, coming in from the NWS of Jackson. So maybe that's an indication that they're going to decide just to keep this as a severe thunderstorm warning instead of a tornado warning. But of course, these are still in effect right now, and that's going to be moving its way into that southern portion of Lawrence County. And right now, it does look like that main line is starting to transition its way going into that northern portion of Walthall County. Now, taking a look, it does look like we still just have a stronger line that's moving its way across. Of course, we do have that team coverage. Chief Meteorologist Ken South is back. So just an indication, do you see anywhere specifically where these notches are going on right now?
Yeah, let's take a look at the entire line here, because along the leading edge of this line, this is going to be the most dangerous part where we're going to get the strongest winds. Doesn't matter if it's a tornado or straight line winds. All along the leading edge of this line, we could see potentially damaging winds of 70 miles per hour. That's what this yellow polygon means here. That's a severe thunderstorm warning, and it encompasses pretty much all of Lawrence County, Jefferson Davis, Covington County, most of Lamar, Marian, and Walthall County. So the threat considerable when you're talking about 70 mile per hour wind gust, and there is a tornado possible tag on this warning because within here we have got rotation, which is prominent enough, strong enough to prompt that part of the line to be tornado warned for across parts of Pike, Lincoln, Lawrence, and Walthall counties. Now, the rotation should have transitioned far enough to the east that Lincoln County, you should be in the clear, and really Pike County, you should be in the clear as well. We're talking about the leading edge of the line, so I do expect very soon to get an update on these tornado warnings. And when we get the update, most likely Lincoln and Pike counties will be trimmed out of the tornado warnings. But of course, it's going to mean that you're still going to be under the gun if you live in southern Lawrence County and in northern Walthall County. So where are we talking about here? Well, just take a look at the reflectivity here. And you see these areas that jut out like this? That's the outflow from the storm. And then you see those areas, those notches like this, that are occurring at multiple points within the line. So there could be a couple of embedded rotations here, and that's why we've got a fairly large, and we've got a couple of tornado warnings issued by the National Weather Service out of New Orleans and Jackson. Bottom line is, if you're in the tornado warned area, you need to play it safe and get to your predetermined safe spot right now and stay there. Remember, the storms are moving so quickly average speed, I would say, at about 40 miles per hour. Every time we get a warning, we get kind of new information about how fast they could be going. Safe bet is about 40 miles per hour, but that's pretty quickly. So if you're in your safe spot and you live in southern Lawrence, northern Walthall County, if it's moving at 40 miles per hour, you're not going to have to be there too much longer before the storm transitions to the east of you. After it moves through these counties, will tornado warnings be continued farther east downstream for, let's say, Marian County or southern Jefferson Davis County? That's what we don't know at this point. But if it is, we're going to be here following these warnings for as long as they're in effect for South Mississippi. So let's clean this up again. And again, we're just looking at the line. You see the notches there. And we just answered, or they just answered that question that I just posed. And they are indeed going to keep the tornado warning going into northern Marian and southern Jefferson Davis County. So I'm going to talk to our directors here because we have responsibility for WHLT in Hattiesburg. We do need to start broadcasting on WHLT because the warning is for Marian County, which is in their viewing area. So just let me know when we're on the air for WHLT, and we'll introduce them to our coverage. All right, in the meantime, we're going to continue to talk to folks in the Jackson area, and I want to query this new warning here. The new warning goes until 9:15, and I'm just going to read off the new warning. Now, this warning is issued by the National Weather Service out of Jackson. They are responsible for Lawrence, Jefferson Davis, and for Marian counties. And the new warning is this. At 8:20, which was 1 minute ago, the National Weather Service in Jackson issued a tornado warning for northern Marian County, east central Lawrence County, and Jefferson Davis County until 9:15. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Robin Hood or near Monticello, moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. They are saying this is a radar indicated rotation. The storm also capable of producing at least penny-sized hail. So they pinpointed the storm as near Monticello, moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So knowing that information, we're going to zoom in here and we're going to use our velocity product once again, because if you're just looking at reflectivity, yeah, you can see the notches and you can kind of guess about where the rotation would be, but we hope to get a more clearer picture by looking at our velocity product, which is the wind direction and the wind speed at cloud level. So we're not looking at the rain anymore. We're totally looking at the wind here. I don't see anything that's has the winds curling in on each other, but we do obviously see some very strong winds, which we can query on the leading edge of this line here. And look at those winds: 77, 84, 75, 72 mile per hour winds. And again, these are winds that are outbound from the radar site. The radar site being the one in Rankin County near Brandon. So those are winds that are moving in this direction away from the radar site. Actually, they're going to be moving out down towards, let's say, the east. And they're going to be very strong, obviously. So these winds, in and of themselves, capable of producing some considerable damage as they continue to transition to the east at about 45 miles per hour. Now, all right, our director let us know that we are now on air for WHLT. And for our viewers there, I just want to let you know that this is Chief Meteorologist Ken South, WJTV. We are on the air now for the Jackson area, but also now for the Hattiesburg area, because we do have a tornado warning that is in effect until 9:15 for parts of Marian County. That is Columbia and points north. The warning also extends into southern Jefferson Davis County and the southeastern part of Lawrence County. So Monticello, Prentiss, Bassfield, and Columbia, you are all in this tornado warning until 9:15. We're trying to pinpoint exactly where the rotation would be. It's not easy to do by looking at the velocity here. Again, it just looks like a straight line of winds. Very strong winds, potentially damaging winds. I don't see anything really curling in on each other, but we do have, at a minimum, very strong winds moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. And if they do start rotating, we could see a tornado put down in this area, and that's why the National Weather Service out of Jackson has issued that tornado warning. So moving at about 45 miles per hour, we're going to take this out to the edge of the polygon here, and these are the estimated arrival times of this dangerous line of storms as it moves very quickly to the east. We're looking at Silver City at about 8:24, White Sand at 8:31, Prentice at 8:36, Goss at 8:41, Bassfield at 8:50, Morris and Melba at just about the top of the hour. I'm going to try a different strategy here. I'm going to look at, let's see, from New Orleans' vantage point, which is a little bit farther away and still isn't very easy to see. To me, it's just like a very strong line of wind, or a squall line of storms producing very strong, potentially damaging winds coming out of Lawrence County and moving into Jefferson Davis and northern Marian County. Roberto, tell me if you can see where exactly rotation might be here with this line. I'm having trouble picking up exactly where we've got rotation here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ken. I'm trying to look up and down this line right now to see if there's maybe a notch going on, but it really looks like a strong straight line wind event. Now, keep in mind that, of course, we do have the tornado warning ongoing, but around that, there's that severe thunderstorm warning. And with this severe thunderstorm warning, they were saying wind gusts were getting up to around 70 miles per hour. So regardless if a tornado is on the ground or not, this is going to do very similar damage when these winds push their way across, knocking down trees, power lines. There's been multiple confirmations that there's a ton of power outages going on, especially farther out to our west, where we first had this storm pop up, like in Lincoln County. We've been getting a few outages reports, and along in Pike County as well. Now keep in mind, this is pushing its way to the east fast, 55 miles per hour. Now taking a look, we're going to see where exactly, and do a little bit deeper dive if there is any notches ongoing. Right now it does look like not seeing anything right now when it comes to this. It looks more like a straight line wind event as this system's moving its way into Jefferson Davis County, that's the southern portion as well, transitioning its way out of Lawrence County, a little bit farther down to our south where we have Walthall. Maybe a little bit of notches farther down to the here that we're gonna have to watch out for, like in Dinan, going to Salem as well, Highway 83 and Highway 27 corridor. That's gonna be an area we're gonna have to watch out for as this system's pushing its way out to the east. And that'll transition its way closer into Marion County as well. We'll see if they decide to extend this tornado warning a little bit farther down south to include more of that southern portion of Marion County compared to that northern portion that they just only have included right now for that Morgantown, Improve, and White Bluff as well. And taking a look, these are going to be some really, really strong winds as it pushes its way across. And it's a little bit messy right now, you could tell, because we have this very bright blue going on. Taking a look also, there's a very heavy downpours associated with this line of storms. Only a few lightning strikes, especially a little bit farther up to our north around the Monticello area. Keeps on pushing its way to the east, and as it transitions its way into Prentice as well. So there's definitely going to be the possibility of some localized street flooding when it comes to this system, because these are going to be some very heavy downpours that quickly come on in. And of course, along with that, we have that tornado warning that's in effect as of right now. So let's take a look right now. This is coming out of the New Orleans radar. Still looks like a straight line event. Straight line winds associated with this. Again, a similar reading when it comes to the Jackson radar as well. Taking a look, they were worried about west of Oakville community. Just reading some of the things coming in from the National Weather Service. Ken, if you could find where that specifically is while I just keep going over this line of storms. So yeah, really strong straight line winds. It's transitioning its way going into the eastern portion of Jefferson, or that southern portion of Jefferson Davis right now. And if you're in Prentice, you could probably see it's upon you. The winds are starting to pick up. And once this moves its way across, you're really going to feel it. The wind will start to howl. This is going to affect all the way farther down to our south. This is going to get closer to that, say, Highway 13 region, south of Prentice. So if you're in that area, you need to be getting into your safe place right now. You have that tornado warning in effect, that severe thunderstorm warning as well. If there even is a tornado on the ground or not, you're going to have these straight line winds occurring. That's going to be blowing across you. And guess what? That's up to around 70 miles per hour. That can do tons of damage. You can see farther down to our south, going into Marion County, northern portion, White Bluff, let's say right along Highway 587, White Bluff.
And you'll see Oakville. That's what they mentioned in chat there.
Okay, yes, I see
strong
Oakville
circulation
now.
west of Oakville.
Yep, I got it right here. Thank
Okay.
you, Ken. Yeah, so this is what they were concerned about earlier. They're saying there was a little bit of a notch that was to the west side. Now as it's pushing its way across to Oakville, it's upon you, moving its way across Highway 43. It's going to keep on pushing its way out to the east as it moves its way across that community here. Now, luckily, I'm not seeing as much of a notch with this system, but hey, like we talked about just a second ago, strong straight line winds, 70 miles per hour. So the community of Oakville, you're definitely going to be feeling that as it moves its way upon you right now. This will be keep on pushing its way out to the east. We talked about Highway 13 region. If you're along this, south of Prentice, going all the way down to, let's say, Society Hill, Goss as well, you all need to be getting into a safer area. You are within that tornado warning, that severe thunderstorm warning as well. And this is going to drop all the way down into Fortenberry and into Columbia also. So right here, stretching from Prentice, going down to Columbia along Highway 13, make sure you're in your safe area. A basement, of course, is most ideal. Not all of us have it, and a lot of us don't. Getting into the interior of your room or your household away from those windows. That's going to be the best idea. I know a lot of us say, hey, maybe I could go see this. No, you won't be able to. It's dark outside. There's a ton of trees, and this system's going to move so fast upon you, it could knock into some debris into those windows, shattering that. That could cause a lot of damage, of course, to yourself, so we don't want that to happen. Just make sure you hunker down, wait till this passes over you. You can come and follow us we're live on our Facebook with WJTV. Go check that out if you need to be moving away from your television. If you can't do that, then just turn up your television so you can hear us out in the background, of course, as well when it comes to this. So take a look. That tornado warning still in effect. Let me check and make sure they haven't updated this polygon as of yet. So east at 45 miles per hour. Very fast moving like we talked about. It just is now moving its way into Prentice as of right now in that southern portion of Jefferson, or central portion of Jefferson Davis, excuse me. Going to be moving its way closer to Society Hill, Goss, going down to Columbia as well, Morgantown. You need to be getting into a safer area, Fortenberry as well. If you heard any of these names, Newsom, this is going to be right upon you as we speak. Just make sure you're hunkering down, getting into a safer area. I've been checking with the NWS of Jackson and haven't gotten an update since the last one I gave you about that one community of Oakville. Let me just make sure to check with NWS New Orleans. Most likely they're going to end up wrapping up this tornado warning sooner than later, just because it's not in effect for too much longer, and that line is starting to push its way a little bit farther out to the east as well. So make sure you keep in mind that, hey, if you're in Walthall County, you still have that tornado warning in effect for your area. Let's take a closer look with that Louisiana radar. Possibility of a few notches here and there, especially one that's closer to that 583 north of Tylertown, between Saline and Tylertown, Highway 27, MS 27 as well. Could be getting closer to, let's say, Noxo. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, Noxo. It's going to be coming closer to you in that eastern portion of Walthall County. So making sure you're in your safer area, especially if you're north of Tylertown, like we talked about, right along Highway 27, excuse me, moving its way along 98 as well. Carto, Noxo, you also need to be into your safer area as this keeps on pushing its way farther out to the east, and that'll be getting its way closer into Marian County as well. Kokomo, you need to be getting into a safe spot. Now, of course, we have team coverage that's going on. We're going to keep on tracking this line of systems, and as long as these tornado warnings are in effect. So now I'm going to send it back over to Chief Meteorologist Ken South.
All right, thanks, Roberto. Here is our velocity product. You can see the leading edge of the line right here, the very brightest shade of pixels here in the orange. Those are the strongest winds. We're looking at 70-mile-per-hour wind gust, potential even stronger, reaching the ground here. So honestly, it doesn't matter if it's being produced by a tornado or just by a squall line of severe thunderstorms. These are still going to be damaging winds that are quickly transitioning to the east into Jefferson Davis and Marian counties. I want to put on the warnings for you, and I want to point out that some have been canceled here in southeastern Lawrence County. And I got to tell you, I think Walthall and Lawrence, even though the rain is heavy and the winds are still going to be on the stronger side, the leading edge of this line is transitioning. As soon as I say that, they update it, transitioning into Jefferson Davis and Marian counties. What I was about to say is, I think Lawrence County, as far as a rotation is concerned, I think you're done, And the National Weather Service out of Jackson just confirmed that for us because they trimmed the polygon back to just include Jefferson, Davis, and northern Marian counties. So there you see, they've trimmed it to right around the leading edge of this line and points east. So that's where that leading edge is going to be moving into over the next several minutes. Right now, it is in Prentiss and along Highway 13 and down around White Bluff and Morgantown in Marion County. You're getting the worst of it right now. But remember, this is moving to the east, and I'm going to query this warning because they did give us an update so we can get the very latest forward motion on this line of storms. So at 8:33, that was 1 minute ago, a tornado warning remains in effect until 9:15 for northern Marion and Jefferson Davis counties. A line of severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, and notice plural. Because there's more than one notch or embedded rotation within this line. So a line of thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes was located along a line extending from near Prentiss to Society Hill or to near Holly Springs, moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. Now, it is still a radar indicated rotation. Thankfully, we have not seen a debris signature, so it's nothing confirmed on the ground, and we don't have information from storm spotters that anything like a tornado is on the ground, but it is a radar indicated rotation because we do see the strong winds on the radar, and we can see the notches here, which means the winds are trying to curl in on each other from opposite directions. So that's enough of an indication of rotation at multiple points along the leading edge of this line to prompt a tornado warning until 9:15 for most of Jefferson Davis County and the northern part of Marion County north of Columbia. Also, penny-sized hail is possible within this line. So I'm going to make sure that we've got the forward motion correct at about 45 miles per hour. And I'm going to just track the entire line right there from Prentiss all the way back over to about Morgantown. And then we're going to take it to the edge of the polygon here. So these are the towns that are going to be in the path of this line and the estimated times of arrival of the strongest winds. Morgantown, it's pretty much on you right now. Expose, 8:42. So what, you got about 5 minutes? And then Terrell, looks like you got about maybe 8 to 10 minutes if you live in Terrell. Bassfield, it should be there in about 8:46, which again, about 8 to 10 minutes before it arrives in your area. You got a little bit more lead time if you're in Dean, should be there at about 8:51, Morris at 8:53, and Higgins at 8:59. So hunker down until the storms get past you. If you live east of this line, you should be getting into your safe spot right now. If you live west of that line, we can tell you that you are in the clear. So we can do that over Lawrence County. Now, I know it's windy and the rain is heavy right now in Lawrence County, but as far as rotation is concerned and the very strongest winds, that is now transitioned to the east of you. So you're good if you live in Lawrence County. And I would say the same thing really in Walthall County, even though technically there's still a tornado warning here. I just think they're just getting ready to either cancel this or they're just going to let it expire. Really, the thing that we're concerned with now is this one right here in northern Marion and now transitioning into the southeastern parts of Jefferson Davis County. So let's get a closer look in as we zoom in. Some of these streets are going to pop in here, and Roberto was talking about the notches here. We do have several of those that are developing along the leading edge of this line. You see some outflow right there, and then there's a notch right there, and then it looks like there's a little notch right there east of Prentiss, but there could be a couple, 2 or 3 of these along this line. So that's why we're saying take precaution right now, play it safe if you live in this area and get into your safe spot. Again, we've got a notch right there. We got another one right there near Carson, and then potentially another one a little bit farther to the north to the east of Prentiss. All of these locations on the leading edge of this line, we could see rotation And at a moment's notice, a tornado could be put down. And we're talking about even an EF0 or an EF1 tornado, you could be talking about winds on the order of 80, 90, getting close to 100 miles per hour if a tornado actually reaches the ground. Obviously, that's strong enough wind to create a lot of damage, and that's why we need you to get to where you need to be to stay safe while the storm is passing through. Let's zoom on in a little bit more, and we're going to estimate when the leading edge of this line is going to get to Bassville, because that's a pretty big community in southeastern Jefferson Davis County. It looks like it's going to be there in about, let's say, 5-6 minutes. It's about 4 miles away. Carson, it's pretty much on top of you right now. Going to be crossing Highway 35 once again in about 5 minutes time or so. And then as we pan a little bit farther to the south, the leading edge of this line from Society Hill is going to cross Highway 35 in northern Marian County, once again, in about 5 to 6 minutes. We want you to get to a sturdy structure, underground if possible. If you can't do that, sturdy structure is the best place to be. One of the worst places to be is in a manufactured or mobile home, and also in a vehicle when a storm like this is passing through. Obviously, we're getting into a more populated area here, and that's a major highway when we're talking about Highway 35, which runs north and south from Columbia back over to Bassville. You do not need to be on the road when this line is moving through, because it could toss around your car, especially if it's a tornado with 80 to 90 mile per hour winds, but even 70 mile per hour winds could potentially move a vehicle around. So we need you to get into a sturdy structure, but one that's close by that you can get to in a moment's notice. All right, Roberto, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to let y'all know before it pops up. Now, the southern portion of Marion County is going to be included as well when it comes to this tornado warning. They're worried about this one that is moving its way out of Walthall County. Pushing its way east to out of Tylertown and everything, and getting closer into the southern portion of Marion County. So just wanted to give you an indication that, hey, if you're in Jamestown, Pickwick, Spring Cottage, and there it goes. It's now just been included. So let's get a look at this. I'll pull this off air to see how fast it's moving. So take a look. New tornado warning in effect till about 9:45 p.m. Of course, radar indicated rotation has been embedded with this. It's all because of this system that moved its way out of Tylertown, and it's pushing its way to the east. So if you're along, let's say, south of Columbia, Marion County, you need to be getting into your safe area. Pickwick, along the Highway 13 region, this tornado warning is now going to include you. They do have it moving a little bit slower when it comes to its southern portion. It's only moving its way at around 25 miles per hour. So I just want to give you some indications of areas that need to be getting into a safer area real quick. So like I said, south of Columbia, Lovelace, Natcole, Lambton, you're all going to be included. Highway MS-35, MS-13 pushing its way to the south. Let's go a little bit farther down south. If you're in Pickwick, Hub, Spring Cottage, you are now included in this tornado warning. It's moving its way to the east at 25 miles per hour. I'll give you a look at this in a second to make sure. I'm going to have to update this real quick. Let's take a look. 25 miles per hour. All right, so as this system's moving its way out to the east, take a look at where the rotation would be as it pushes its way into Marion County. So take a look at 8:46 p.m. Carto, it's going to be right upon you as of right now. You have a little bit more time farther downstream, like in Pickwick, until about 9:20. So this is a slower moving system, and I think it's because it's dipping its way a little bit more farther down to the southwest. Sandy Hook until about 9:26 p.m. Hub, you have until about 9:33, and then Pine Bur about 9:39 p.m. So you have a little bit of time if you're in the Marion County, that southern portion. However, you still need to be getting ready, getting into a safer area. We should be live on Facebook, so if you do have to step away from your TV, you can still watch us and have this get all the warnings that you need as we keep on tracking this system. And if not, you can't get onto that live stream, just turn up the TV, keep it a little bit louder as you're hiding in your safer area. We always talk about it, a basement's going to be most ideal. Not all of us have it, so just make sure you're going into the interior room of your household at least. It's stepping away from those windows. We do not need to be near any windows when it comes to this system. You won't be able to see it as it keeps on pushing its way farther downstream and going into that southern portion of Marion County. So take a look. Pull this farther out because, of course, we still have that longer line of storms farther up to our north. We have been getting a little bit of notches. I want to switch back over to our Jackson radar here, like in areas of Bassfield. Yeah, Bassfield is looking a little bit more, let's say, suspicious right now. We have these winds that are pushing their way out to the east. So these are now technically going away from the radar because, of course, we're pulling out from the Jackson one. It's farther out to the northwest. These are pushing its way to the east, pushing its way to the west. If you're in Bassfield, I hope you are in your safer area as of right now. This is upon you. It could drop a tornado at any given time, right along that Highway 35, minutes wait along 42. Cantwell Mill. You have a little bit more time as you're just a little bit farther out to the east of Bassfield. You need to be getting into your safer area. Morris as well. So this is where we're getting a little bit better of an indication of a notch headed our way and maybe the possibility of a little bit more rotation. And maybe a tornado could be dropping its way down as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this back over to Chief Meteorologist Ken South as he was taking a look at this system as well.
Yeah, I was looking at this one as you were examining the one a little bit farther to the south. Of course, we're still on our velocity product right now, but what we were saying before is to really pinpoint exactly where a rotation would be, we want to see those winds kind of curling in on one another, and unfortunately, we are now beginning to see that happen as the storm, the leading edge of this line of storms, as that is approaching Bassfield. Can see how the winds are kind of twisting in on each other right here. So here's a look at Live Eye Max 2 full screen, and we're going to zoom into the Bassfield area. It's a populated area, obviously, and we're going to query some of these winds here. The brighter the shading of the pixel, the stronger the winds. We're trying to find the brightest one here, so that's a -47. Those are outbound winds. Excuse me, those are inbound winds toward the radar site. There you see the arm of the radar rotating on by. Then we're going to query the other side where it's shaded more in orange and red here. And let's take a look at that one. That says 77. So those are winds generally moving away from the radar, kind of in this direction. So you can see what's happening here is, see those winds next to one another? They're rotating right there on the leading edge of that line. That's an embedded rotation along a squall line of thunderstorms that is absolutely definitely severe and capable of producing damaging winds of 70 miles per hour. Within that line, we've got embedded rotation that could produce a tornado, and if a tornado touches down, we're talking about winds that could be even stronger, 80, 90 mile per hour plus when you're talking about a tornado. Now, unfortunately, this is in the Bassfield area. If you're in Bassfield, you're under a tornado warning. You should be hearing the sirens, although there's probably a lot going on. There's a lot of heavy rain, there's lightning, there's thunder. It may be hard to see or hear those sirens outside. That's why we always say you need to have multiple ways to get weather warnings. Hopefully you've got our WJTV news and weather apps. Hopefully you've got a NOAA weather radio. You always want to leave that turned on, especially at nighttime during severe weather events. Again, you're under a warning right now in southeastern Jefferson Davis County, and for good reason. We're seeing very good indication of a rotation within this line near Bassfield, transitioning to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So it is moving quickly. It is not going to take a whole lot of time for this to get out of Jefferson Davis County. So the question is going to be, are they going to issue, and when I say are they, we're talking about the National Weather Service out of Jackson, because they're responsible for all of these counties. Are they going to issue another warning downstream for Covington County? And I do believe that probably, did that just happen? Yeah, it just happened. It's funny how we talk about things and then it happens. All right, that's a huge tornado warning, isn't it? So basically what they are saying by issuing a tornado warning for not just a small specific area, they're issuing a tornado warning for a majority of 4 counties now in the Pine Belt. That's Covington, Jones, Forest, to include Hattiesburg, and northern Lamar counties. So basically what they're saying is they believe that this entire severe line is capable of producing tornadoes anywhere along the line as it transitions to the east very quickly. So they're not even going to try to pinpoint where the exact rotations are and try to track those specific areas. They're just going to warn for all of these counties here and say, you know what? This entire line is capable of producing a tornado. You need to get into your safe spot and stay there until the leading edge of this line is past you. Now, if you live in Prentice, the leading edge of the line is past you. You are technically still in a tornado warning, but they're either going to trim this one back or they're just going to let it go until it expires, or they're going to cancel it early once that leading edge gets out of this first polygon. But I got to tell you, if you're west of the leading edge here, which means if you're west of Bassfield, if you're west of, let's say, especially Highway 13, but in Jefferson, Davis County, if you're west of Highway 35, you're in the clear. And again, as we're talking about things, it happens. They just trimmed it back. So again, Prentice, you are officially in the clear. You are no longer under a tornado warning. It's going to be windy. It's going to be wet with heavy rain, but the threat of a tornado and the strongest winds from the leading edge of the line is past you. It is now farther to the east. They updated this warning here to, yes, still include Bassfield and Columbia and points east in southeastern Jefferson Davis and northeastern Marian counties. So I want to query the update on this warning to read out what they're saying about this portion of the line. And you see what I'm talking about here from Columbia back over to Bassfield. So at 8:49, that was 1 minute ago, this was the updated tornado warning. A tornado warning remains in effect until 9:15 for northeastern Marian and southeastern Jefferson Davis counties. At 8:48, a line of severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, again, plural tornadoes, was located along a line extending from near Lone Star to near Bassfield to Columbia, moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. It is a radar-indicated rotation, and the line of storms is also capable of producing penny-sized hail. So pretty much what we've been saying here is there are several notches within this line. So each one of these could be an embedded rotation. Here's a notch right there. There's a notch right there. There's another notch right there. Right in here, there could be a rotation there. There could be a rotation there. And there could be a rotation there. There are several of them. So that's why they are not just pinpointing each one of these, because the situation is rapidly changing and things are moving so quickly. What they have decided to do is we're just going to issue a tornado warning for basically this entire line, because there could be embedded rotations, several of them along that leading edge, moving east at about 45 miles per hour. So you've got plenty of lead time. If you live in Hattiesburg, the storm is nowhere near you right now. The leading edge of that line is about 26 miles away and moving at 45 miles per hour. It's going to take almost 40 minutes to get to the Hattiesburg area, but it eventually is going to get there. And you do now have plenty of warning if you live in Hattiesburg that you need to get to your safe spot as this line is approaching your area. So be thinking about where you need to go as this line gets closer to us, because I don't think that this is going to fall apart. We're just going to continue to see this nasty squall line moving east, and there's going to be embedded rotations within the line. It's just going to be a fact that we're going to have to deal with over about the next 30 minutes to an hour if you live in this part of the Pine Belt. So the warning downstream does include Collins and Laurel and Hattiesburg in northern Lamar County. Let's zoom in to get some of these other communities here. We're talking about West Hattiesburg, Olo, Sumrall, Sanford, Seminary, Collins, Hot Coffee, and actually most of Jones County, from Laurel back over to Ellisville and down around Moselle. You're all under a tornado warning because the leading edge of this line, now let's just take a look at the velocity, or excuse me, the reflectivity here, which is just the rain. The leading edge of this line has several areas where we've got embedded rotation. And you see these little notches right there. Every single one of them has the potential to produce tornadoes within the line. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially up to 5 areas where we've got embedded rotation within the squall line of thunderstorms, quickly transitioning to the east at about 45 miles per hour. So we know how fast it's moving. Let's track out that leading edge to the east through the Hattiesburg area. We're going to track it out for about the next hour. And there you see the estimated arrival times when the squall line is going to get to you. Should be around Seminary at 8:55, Sumrall at 9:03, Tawanta at 9:14, West Hattiesburg at 9:22, Hattiesburg at 9:29, Camp Shelby at 9:38, and Strengthford at about 9:44. So that's the reason they issue these warnings, and that's the reason that we come on the air to tell you where the storms are and where they're headed and how fast they're going to be there, is to give you the lead time to get to a safe place. Now I'll send it back over to Roberto.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I've just been watching this rotation as well as it kept on pushing its way out to the east. It's pretty messy as of right now, but when it came to this rotation, east of Bassfield, northeast as well, these two notches is what we're really going to have to watch out for as it keeps on moving its way out to the east around 50 miles per hour. Very, very fast-moving system as of now. So I want to take a closer look and pull it a little bit farther out. You can see we talked about it. It's a huge tornado warning as of right now. This is going to include multiple counties. Let's query it real quick so you can have a better understanding. Yeah, it's like Covington, Forest, Jones, and Lamar, all radar indicated until about 9:45 p.m. So just a huge polygon when it comes to this system here. That's going to be in effect for, let's say, the next just a little bit over 45 minutes. So let's pull it back in and take a look at our velocity signatures. It's been our best indication of where the possibility of a tornado could be imminent and dropping itself onto the ground. So this is moving its way out of Jefferson Davis, going into Covington County. So right along where Dean is, pushing its way out to the east, still around 50 miles per hour, very, very fast moving system. There is also this notch that we had to watch out for. It's in that southeastern portion of Jefferson Davis, let's say east of Cantwell Mill. It's moving its way right along that Highway 40, north of Highway 42, just north of Morris is where we're going to have a little bit of that rotation right here. And it just moved over to, say, Gum Swamp Road, moving its way out to Dean Miller Road, and it'll keep on transitioning its way, getting closer to that MS 589, Highway 49 as well. So this is going to keep on moving its way farther out to the east fairly quickly. We talked about it as well. We have this big severe thunderstorm warning. Also, that's because we began some indications that wind gusts, straight line winds, have been getting up to around 70 miles per hour as well. So even if we don't have a tornado on the ground in a few of these areas, with this line pushing its way across, you're definitely going to hear that wind howling as it moves its way upon you. So luckily, we haven't really seen any correlation coefficient values when it comes to this signature. No debris as of right now, but we are a little bit farther away from the radar, which has been one of their concerns when it comes to this. So maybe we haven't been able to see that because of that reason. Now take a look. So our best indication is still going to be when it comes to the rotation associated with this velocity signature. So I'm still worried the most about that southeastern portion of Jefferson Davis moving its way into Covington County, east of Dean, east of Bassfield as well, and especially for this one east of Bassfield. This is where we were saying, hey, this one was starting to look a little bit more suspicious, as these ones right here, they're pushing their way out to the east. Everything right here moving its way out to the west. So this is going to keep pushing its way out to the east, getting closer to the MS 589. We're going to have to watch out for that. Now, don't forget, we do have also tornado warnings that are farther down to our south as well, going into Marian County. This one's going to be closer to, let's say, let's pull this, let's pull these farther out of our New Orleans radar. You can see there's a little bit of notches here and there. This one's northeast of Columbia that we're going to have to be watching out for as well, right along MS 44, east of Columbia, Marion County. It's going to be a community that you're going to have to watch out for when it comes to the possibility of this rotation right here. It's a little bit better of a notch when it comes to this, so definitely somewhere we're going to have to watch out for. That's right along MS 44. So it'll move its way north of that Highway 98 area, pushing its way out to the east, and still a relatively fast-moving system as well. Let me take a double check and make sure I got the right. This one is still moving its way east at 45 miles per hour, so another fast-moving system here. So that's east of Columbia. It's going to be moving its way into, let's say, Rocky Branch Road, where that indication of the rotation will be. Christian Union, J.C. Riley Road, Hollingsworth Road as well, pushing its way farther out to the east, and then that's when it will start to transition its way, let's say, moving into Lamar County as well. Especially if it's moving its way east at 45 miles per hour, that's fast moving. So it will start to transition its way a little bit quicker. Now take a look farther up the line. Once we get a little bit farther up and we get closer to Jefferson Davis and Covington County, we don't get as good of readings with with that radar coming in from farther down into Louisiana, Hammond, Louisiana specifically. But you can still see a little bit where we're getting indications of notches. Bassfield, like we talked about earlier, we have these winds moving its way away from the radar. We've got these ones that are going against it. That's where we have that possibility of rotation, still east of Bassfield as of right now. Let's take a little bit farther up the line as well. Getting closer to Collins with this system. Let's take look at Jackson radar, you can see Collins moving its way right upon you right now. Luckily, I'm not seeing any indication of a good notch. These are going to be some really strong winds, however, that still move across you. We've been getting indications that they've been getting up to around 70 miles per hour. So you're going to hear the wind howling right now if you're in Collins, moving its way, let's say, across 49, going into 84. Areas like in the community of Cola as well, you're going to start to feel it. And as you move your way a little bit farther up, 84, like Hebron, you're going to be in that tornado warning as well, be making its way closer towards you. We're still seeing that best rotation, moving its way into the Covington County right now. Let's say that southwestern portion of Covington County. It's going to be getting closer to MS 589 and no time soon, especially with this system moving its way out to the east at around 45 miles per hour, fast moving, getting closer to Highway 49 as well in the next couple of minutes. And taking another look a little bit farther down to our south, let's say in Marian County, the northeastern part. And yeah, we're still getting a good indication of the knot. It's going to be getting closer to Seminary. So if you're in Seminary, right now is the time to be making sure that you're in a safe place. Getting into the interior household, getting into interior room of your household, away from those windows. Of course, the best case scenario is going to be a basement or underground, but not all of us have that. If you do have it, however, 100%, that's where you need to be heading into. So MS 589, getting closer to Highway 49 as well. And don't forget, this is a big tornado warning. So we got the northern portion of Lamar County, Forest County as well that's included in this, Jones County. But if you're in Jones County, you still have a little bit of time. You haven't seen the storms quite yet, but like we talked about, and I know I sound like a broken record, this is a very fast-moving storm. It will be upon you fairly quickly. If you're farther out, let's say Laurel, Ellisville, you have plenty of time, but now is the time to be paying attention, being weather aware, because that's where we've seen the indications of some notches going over Bassfield, and it's still giving us those indications as it keeps on pushing its way east into that southern portion of Covington County. And right now, that is our best indication of maybe where there's some rotation starting to happen, and maybe it's trying to possibly drop down. And I just do want to do one last look further down into our Louisiana radar right now with that other line. And as of right now in Marian, I'm not seeing any sort of indication of maybe some more rotation happening here, but keep in mind, this could quickly spin up again, produce anything at any given moment. So it's always good to just be making sure you're weather aware, being in a safe area regardless if you're under that severe thunderstorm warning, because these strong wind gusts at 70 miles per hour can do very similar damage to a tornado. Now, of course, we do have team coverage still going on. I'm going to send this back over to Chief Meteorologist so he can take another look at this system as well.
All right. Thank you, Roberto, for your good work and analysis there. Just want to make one mention that we are mostly seeing this line transitioning eastward into the Pine Belt. So obviously we're going to stay on air for our Hattiesburg television station, HLT, but for WJTV, we're going to be able to sign off here in about 10 to 15 minutes. The last warning for one of our counties expires at 9:15. That's for Jefferson, Davis County. All of these other counties are in the Hattiesburg viewing area. So just want to let our director know and producer know that at about 9:15, we're going to be able to sign off for WJTV, and we will continue for WHLT only. All right, so let's take a look at the line of storms as it continues to move eastward. The one good thing about this is it is moving quickly, so we're not going to have to deal with this all night long. This is going to be the next couple of hours, and I think we're going to be done with this. But the fact that it is moving quickly means that if you are in the path of the storm, you need to take shelter right now. That's why, one of the reasons why they're issuing such large tornado warnings is because it is moving so fast, and they want the folks that are ahead of the storm on the downstream side of the storm to be able to get to where they need to be before the line actually reaches them. And we're talking about you folks in Jones County. It's not even raining in Jones County, and you have been under a tornado warning now for a good 10, 15 minutes, if not more. But it is soon going to be raining in Jones County, because you see what's happening here. The leading edge of this line of storms is quickly moving through Covington County. It's now past the Collins area, and that leading edge stretches all the way down, now beginning to make its way into Lamar County and stretches down through Marian. Columbia, I think, seeing the worst of this right now. So we know that's where the heaviest rain is going to be. That's where the strongest winds are. But where is the rotation embedded within the line? Well, it could be at several different locations. And just by looking at the reflectivity product or the rain here, we can tell where those notches are right there. You can see every little indentation right in here is where we've got at least the potential for some rotation. That's where the inflow is going to be on the back side of this. That's the wind pushing out on the back side of the storm. So do we have a rotation there and maybe another there and maybe another there? That's one of the reasons why they haven't issued tornado warnings for each specific part of this line, because, well, there's so many areas where there could be rotation. They just said, okay, we're going to issue a tornado warning for the entire line, and we're going to make it big enough that the folks that are out ahead of it, because it's moving so quickly, can get to where they need to be. And again, we're talking to you in Laurel and along Interstate 59 and all the way down to the Hattiesburg area. So let's take a look at our velocity product once again. So we're not looking at radar anymore. What we're looking at right now is our wind speed and direction at cloud level. And of course, we have two different colors here, and they indicate two different things. The green color indicates winds that are inbound toward the radar site. The red colors, those are outbound winds away from the radar site. And when you see them curling in on one another, we know those are rotating winds. I'm going to back this up one scan because it is very clear when we're just looking at the wind that there is a rotation right here. And that's the one that is coming, or did come through Bassfield, and is now to the east of Bassfield right now. South of Collins, east of Bassfield. We're going to query some of these winds, and you got a negative 51 and a positive 41. So you got 50-mile-per-hour winds moving that way, and over 40-mile-per-hour winds moving this way. And they curl in on each other, which means if a tornado is being put down, add those two together, you're looking at 90, potentially up to 100-mile-per-hour winds if a tornado is on the ground. That's the part that we don't know for sure, because we don't have a storm spotter down there that had said, okay, yes, there's a tornado on the ground, and we don't have any kind of debris being indicated by our radar. Let's take a look at our debris indicator, and nothing stands out as far as debris being lofted into the atmosphere, which if we did see it, that would confirm that a tornado was on the ground, and it would change from a radar indicated rotation to a radar confirmed tornado. Now, one of the reasons that we may not be seeing this is the radar beam is so far away from the radar site. So it could be overshooting what's actually happening here. We could have a tornado at the very lowest levels, obviously near the ground, but we could potentially have debris in the first, let's say, kilometer of the atmosphere, and the radar beam wouldn't be picking it up. So just because we don't have any kind of confirmation from a debris indicator or a storm spotter doesn't mean that there isn't a tornado on the ground, or that there couldn't be one very soon in this area where we have a very clear indication that we've got rotation. Now, this is the very latest scan from our base velocity here, and there you see the greens and the reds south of Collins now, and right along Highway 49 near the seminary area. So if we think that's where the rotation is, we are going to, or at least one of them, we're going to push this back over to the left portion of the screen, and we're going to track this out to the east at about 40, 45 miles per hour through Jones County. It's going to take it nearly an hour to get all the way over to the eastern part of Jones County. But again, these areas are all going to be in the path of the storm. Basically, the entire line is going to catch you if you're in Jones County. So really, it's not just these areas in the cone, but it's the entire county that between now and the bottom of the next hour, between now and about 9:45, when the warning expires, or about 10 o'clock, you're going to be seeing this leading edge moving from west to east across your county, with the potential for embedded rotation along the leading edge of that line. That's why we want you to take precautions right now. We want you to get into that safe spot and stay there until the storm is past you or the warnings are canceled. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and take a look at the warnings that we have out there right now. And there are several of them. Take the watch off. Yeah, Let's take the watch off so we can get a better look at this. And I know that there are warnings right here back farther to the west that includes Bassfield and northeastern Marian County. This one, that's the one that's going to come off at 9:15, and at that point we're going to be able to get off the air from WJTV unless they cancel it early. But I really got to say the leading edge here is to the east of Bassfield, mostly now in Covington County. So I would say even though you're under warning, you're pretty much in the clear right now in the Bassfield area. Let's take a look at just the radar. And yeah, so the leading edge has already passed through the northeastern part of Marion County. And so I would say this warning, I think they're probably just going to let it expire at 9:15, but I think the danger is pretty much done as far as this warning is concerned. What we're looking at now are two other warnings, basically just along and east of that line of storms, which does include the southern part of Marion County, and then that huge warning for northern Lamar, northern Forest, eastern Covington, and pretty much all of Jones County. But for this area, I think you're good. If you've been in your safe spot, even though you're technically under a tornado warning, I think we can sound the all clear for you. I just don't want folks to be in their safe spot and not know that they can get out. If you're in Columbia, if you're in Bassfield, and especially if you're anywhere to the west of there, you're in the clear. There is no longer a threat that you're going to get tornado damage in your area. The threat is not over if you live along and east or downstream of this line where we have several areas where there is a potential rotation. Everywhere you see one of these little notches right in here, we could be seeing some kind of rotation. That's why that warning goes from, let's say, Jones County all the way down south of Hattiesburg. I'm going to take a look at chat, see if we've got anything that has been updated here. I don't see anything. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for basically this entire area. So, so that's what we're looking at right now, the leading edge of this line being severe. Let's take a look and see if there's any storm reports. It may be a little bit too early to get storm reports from this area because the storm is moving through right now, but where it came through earlier today, or earlier this evening, I should say, we are now beginning to get some storm reports. Remember, the first time that we made it on air a couple of hours ago was for a warning that was issued for Mid-County and Pike County, and then Lincoln and Lawrence and Walthall got in on the act. Well, now we're beginning to see some storm reports from this area. So let's query those and see what we're getting reported. Yeah, so right there in Mid-County, near Smithdale at about 7:37, damage reported along Highway 570 and Thompson Roads from a possible tornado. So let's query this one a little bit farther to the north. In Lincoln County, a couple trees and power lines down over the southwestern part of the county at about 7:45, and then a little bit farther to the west in Franklin County, south of Meadville. We didn't have a warning there. At least we didn't have a tornado warning, but that squall line of storms did come through, and obviously it downed some trees in that area, because we do have trees down now in Franklin County, south of Meadville. That happened just a few minutes after 7 o'clock. So that was about 2 hours ago. So you can see the progression of the storm. In just 2 hours, it made it from Meadville in Franklin County all the way back over to, let's say, Collins and Columbia, and quickly transitioning farther to the east and approaching Interstate 59 and the Hattiesburg and the Laurel area. So in another hour or two, this is going to be done. It'll be over in the Pine Belt area. It's just that we need you to be in your safe spot for at least the next 30 minutes from now until 9:45. Because this tornado warning will be in effect until 9:45 for this large area of Jones, Forest, Lamar, and eastern Covington counties. There you see that warning. The line moving to the east at about 45 miles per hour. And the latest from the National Weather Service is still a radar indicated rotation at several points within this line. And this line also capable of producing penny-sized hail. Roberto, I'll send it back over to you.
Hey, thanks, Ken. Yeah, just taking a look at our velocity signatures, too. It's our best case scenario. It's understanding where we could have the potential for a tornado to drop down. I do want to let you know that for areas like in the southeastern portion of Jefferson Davis, this is going to expire in the next few minutes at 9:15. So once 9:15 hits, luckily, you're going to be done. That tornado warning will expire, and you're going to be in the clear for the rest of the night. Now, take a look farther out to our northeast in Marian County as well. You're going to be in the same situation until about 9:15 p.m. So once that happens, you're going to be in the clear. However, can't say the same for our southeastern portion. So let's take a look at a different radar. In the southeastern portion of Marian County, it's a different situation. This warning, you could tell it's by itself where it's cutting off right here. So the southeastern portion, you're in effect until about 9:45 p.m. So the strong line of storms is going to be pushing its way down to the southeast. It's a little bit slower. So in Pineburg, it's going to be right upon you as of this moment. We're not seeing any indications of good notches with this. I think this is going to be more straight line winds that are pushing in as of right now. Spring Cottage as well, Sandy Hook, Twin, pushing its way to the southeast along that, let's say, MS 43. Pearl Bluff Circle, Saul Abram Road, Mail Route Road, Tony Lane as well. Southeastern portions of Marian County. You're going to have this in effect until about 9:45 p.m., so the next 30 minutes or so. So make sure to keep that in mind. Now, of course, taking a look at our other areas that are under this tornado warning as of right now, like in the eastern portion of Covington County. This line is starting to push out. It's still in that southeastern portion as of right now, going its way along, let's say, the community of Sanford right now. Lux, you're going to be having this push its way upon you. Eminence, it already moved its way farther out to the east, so now that's starting to transition into Jones County as of right now. And northwestern Jones County, if you're in the community of Soso. Summerland, you had that push upon you. Hebron as well. So Soso, you're going to be next up. You're going to start to hear these winds howl, getting closer to your area, so make sure to hunker down as you are in that tornado warning. Now keep in mind that's for the northwestern portion of Jones County. Farther out into central parts and north central, let's say Laurel, Calhoun, Clio, Sandersville, Hoy, you still have time as of right now to be getting into your safer area. The system is still moving its way fairly fast, around 45 miles per hour out to the east, so just make sure you're hunkering down, paying attention and staying weather aware, and just hunker down until you have this line of storms push its way past you. So take a look, we did get another update on our reading right here when it comes to our velocity signatures. Not showing any indications of a tight couplet as of right now, but hey, you know, we've been on air for a couple of hours. We've had indications of quick rotation happening, then dispersing a little bit, and that's going to be this unfortunate situation with these squall line storms. As it pushes its way out to the east, you're going to have these winds that go against this system. Once that happens, quick spin-up tornadoes are definitely going to be possible. So as we keep on going throughout this tornado warning, we're going to keep tracking this and keeping an eye on it where there could be any indications of, hey, maybe something's starting to tighten up. We talked about it earlier. When it moved its way across the minutes, that's where we had some indications. So let's say MS 588. That's where you're going to have these really strong winds pushing its way across east of Oak Bowery. It'll keep pushing its way along 588, getting closer to Ellisville. He'll be upon you fairly quickly, so making sure if you're in Ellisville, that community right close to Interstate 59, making sure you're into a safer area as of right now, because like I said, 45 miles per hour, it's a very, very fast-moving system. And of course, farther out to the east of it, you have a little bit more time as well. But make sure you're just paying attention as the system keeps moving its way towards you. There's been some other areas where we've got indications of maybe some notches happening, like in Sanford. We have these winds, this red, that's all pushing its way out to the east. These greens right here, pushing its way westward. That's where we get that tight rotation possibly happening. Just moved over Sanford. It's going to keep pushing its way to the east, going to be right upon Shelton. And then let's take a look. Hattiesburg and Laurel Regional Airport. It's getting closer there. So if you're around there, Interstate 59 corridor, you got to be making sure you're in a safer area, because unfortunately, yes, you are under that tornado warning, and we're going to have to just make sure we're staying in a safe area. It's been tough when it comes to this situation because our velocity signatures, they've been a little bit messy when it came to tonight, just because the radar's been a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, not getting us the best indications of where these tighter signatures are. So, but hey, we're doing the best that we can do. All right. And I just want to let you know that since 9:15 just expired, that we are going to be signing off of WJTV. Luckily, if you're in the viewing area there, you're in the clear, especially metro area farther out to the west. Now we're going to specifically just focus on
This has been a Storm Team 12 severe weather.